Please, can we have a one time and a round of applause in the room for White House Senior Advisor Valerie Jarrett on the telephone, please?
Aren't you sweet?
Alive!
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What is, I can't imagine what the mood is in the White House. I am so emotional about our president's term ending. I cannot imagine what you guys are feeling.
Emotional.
Yeah, you would have to be.
Emotional, but I have to say to you, also, Angie, just a huge feeling of gratitude for how wonderful the American people have been to the president and how much people have worked to bring our country back from the brink of disaster. So we've come a long way in 8 years, and I'm really proud of the president's record. So it's all good.
You're feeling optimistic? You sound like you're feeling optimistic, Valerie.
I am. I am very optimistic. I think that we are fortunate to live in the greatest country on earth. That has not changed. My opinion of our country has not changed one bit. It's big, it's complicated, it's messy. Democracy is always like that, and our goal is to try to not lose focus and continue to remind ourselves every day we have the privilege of working here, why we do, and in whose service we are. We are working.
Did you have to build up to that, or did you feel that right away? Because you felt the loss, like everybody felt the loss. Did you have to
No. I had to build up to that.
Yeah.
I had to go through the stages of grief just like everybody else did. But
right.
I think the president sets a very important tone from the top, and he's been very clear that we need to do just what President Bush and his administration did for us, and that is focus on a smooth and orderly transition. It's part of what makes our democracy stand out, is you can campaign hard for whomever you please, but when the American people make a decision, then it's our job to pass the baton as smoothly as we can. So everyone here is busy about the business of the transition and finishing out the work that we have left.
That's one thing about this administration. I mean, aside from just the work that you've done, it's like the class, and just
so sweet and
the grace of the administration is something.
And it helps when you work for a president who has those qualities. And who cares a lot about his team and encouraging us to never lose our focus. And he's so grounded and centered, and it makes it easy to stay focused when you work for him.
I bet. I know that, of course, criminal justice reform has been one of the things he's been very focused on. I know that he just pardoned 78 and commuted 153 more sentences. And by the way, this fact is kind of crazy, everybody. Our president has commuted more sentences than the last 11 presidents combined.
We spend $80 billion a year, Angie, on criminal justice. Now, we could think of some wiser ways of using that money that would keep our neighborhoods safer.
Yeah.
And as long as you've got this revolving door, because people can't find jobs when they leave, then you're having a problem. And so we have this Fair Chance Business Pledge where we're encouraging businesses to commit to banning the box, so that they're not looking at the end of the application process to see whether or not someone's been incarcerated, but give them a chance to prove themselves before you do that sort of a check. So we have a full plate, and we're trying to, as the president always tells us, to run through the finish line.
So you're not sitting around. You guys are not sitting around up there waiting for the time.
Nobody's twiddling their fingers around here. I can tell you that for sure.
This is one of the things.
I think we'll see.
This is one of the things that scare me, because with the new administration now, does all of this stuff get turned around?
Well, I'd say a few things. I'd say, first of all, most of the people who are in our criminal justice system now are in the state and county local system. So of the 2.2 million people who are incarcerated, just a couple 100,000 are in the federal system. So the reform efforts that we were pushing through here in Congress wouldn't have necessarily benefited that many people, though every person you help is an important person to help, but it would have provided a role model, a blueprint, if you will, for the states. What I've been encouraged by is how many states on their own are taking up criminal justice reform efforts. There were ballot measures around the country, and you're beginning to see governors and legislatures in red and blue states recognizing that our current system is broken, cost exorbitant, and inhumane. We have 5% of the world's population, yet we have 25% of the world's prisoners. That just is not sustainable. And so what I think will happen is you'll see a lot of activity in the states, and hopefully that activity will create some momentum that will encourage Congress to take the necessary steps. And because we have had such strong bipartisan support on both sides of the aisle in both chambers and among this wide range of stakeholders, I think it's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. As long as that coalition holds firm and stays committed.
Okay, so you're hopeful. So how much of this is going to get done before you leave, and what can we do to help at this point?
Well, I think helping as you have, get the message out. Part of why I wanted to come on your show is that you've been such a terrific advocate for criminal justice reform.
I was looking at this article that somebody put in front of me when they heard you were calling in today that called you the first woman president, female president of the United States because of your influence on our president. Would you
Well,
ever...
let's just be clear. We only have one president
Okay.
at a time, and we have the good fortune of having an excellent president. I have known him and the First Lady now 25 years. We're very
Amazing.
close, but he is his own person. He takes counsel from a great circle of advisors that he has here in the White House, and I'm proud to be one of those people who is actually the longest-serving senior advisor. I've been here since January 20th, 2009.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Well, you most certainly would be qualified to be a president of the United States. I'm just saying, wouldn't you be qualified? Wouldn't it seem you'd be qualified at this point? If you...
You know what? You know what? I'm not even beginning to go down that path. I'm looking forward to a vacation on a sandy beach.
Is that what you're going to do? You earned it.
That's
you earned
my
it.
plan, and that it. But in a much more serious note, I just cannot tell you what an honor it has been for me to serve President Obama and our country over the last 8 years from the White House. If anyone had told me when I was a child that one day I would, move from having my face pressed up against the gate on the outside to coming in through the gate every single day for 8 years,
Wow.
I would have said you'd have to pinch me because I must be dreaming. So it's been an incredible experience for me, and I'm just proud of the work that the President and all of us here have been able to do on behalf of the American people, who we remind ourselves every single day that's who we are here to serve.
I think I say that to you because I feel that way too. But I think we all are sad to see the president and his administration go at this point. So it's like I would vote for you. I would vote. That's why everybody says Michelle. They want Michelle to run for president. It's just like we just don't want to let you guys go. So it's like,
you know what? The First Lady would make a marvelous president, wouldn't she?
I totally agree. What can you
she'd
do,
be
Valerie?
great.
What can you do?
I will say there are very few things I am more confident than that she would not run for president. But she would be terrific. And this I would say to you about both of them. They're young. The president's only 55. The First Lady much younger.
Right. So
they've got plenty of time left to be forces for good, both here in the United States and around the world. And I know that they're looking forward to figuring out how to continue the public service that has been really embedded in their soul since they were children. And I look forward to seeing what the future brings for them both.
It is exciting to see what their place in the world is going to be after they leave. And I think they're going to do amazing things as well. What do you think the legacy is going to be after? What do you think we're going to, when we look back like 10 years later, what do you think the legacy of the administration is going to be? And is there anything that we would be surprised by?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, so it's hard for me to predict out 10 years. I will say that if you just look at the metrics, by every possible metric, our country is better off today than it was 8 years ago. I think people sometimes forget when the president took office, we were losing up to 800,000 jobs a month. Our unemployment rate went up to 10%. Our automobile industry was bordering on the brink of collapse. Our banks were bordering on the brink of collapse. Millions of people were losing their homes, and I've already mentioned their jobs. And we had a climate crisis, dependence on foreign oil, 2 wars, energy crisis, healthcare crisis, and now unemployment rate is down to 4.6%, created well over 15 million jobs. The automobile industry is back robustly and hiring. We have a climate deal with all of the major countries in the world who've agreed that climate change is based in science, and we must take steps together individually and collectively to improve our climate for our children and our grandchildren. We've brought home so many of our troops who've been serving in 2 wars back safely to their families, and we owe a responsibility to them each and every day. We should be grateful for the sacrifices that they have made. The president struck this deal with Iran to keep them from developing nuclear weapons, opened up diplomatic relations with Cuba, You could just go on and on.
Yeah.
So, but you look at all these metrics: high school graduation rate at a record number, poverty rate in 2015 dropped by the largest amount since 19.
She's saying we came up in here and we did the thing. We came in here and we changed the world.
We did it. Family income gone up by the record, biggest record in our history. I could go on for half an hour. So I think, in 10 years you'll look at those statistics and you'll see just what a difference was made in 10 years. And not only that, that's not even talking about civil rights and LGBT rights and what we've done to stop discrimination and bullying and harassment of people. There's been a lot that's happened.
It's been a good run.
Arena too. It's been a good run. It's been a really good run. And a lot of it is due to the real hard work and tenacity of American workers, businesses, volunteers, people who love our country as much as we do and just want to do right by it.
I know we're going to lose you soon, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but there's a lot of people who are fearful, who have a lot of fear about what's going to happen in January when when the president-elect takes over. I mean, are you fearful?
Well, look, obviously the president had a different candidate in mind, and we did everything possible to ensure a different outcome. Mm-hmm. Elections have consequences. I think, as President Obama has said, we have to give the president-elect space to do his due diligence and reach his conclusions about what kind of a president he wants to be. And I don't want to prejudge how that's going to turn out. We're doing everything we can to help with the transition. As I mentioned earlier, that's been we've learned a lot in 8 years, and it's our job to give the next team the benefit of what we've learned, and then it's up to them to accept it or not. But I guess what I want to say to you, though, is that I want the American people to appreciate the power that they have. The president often says the most important office in the land is not the president, it's citizen. Mm-hmm. And as citizens, we have the opportunity to work with our government and encourage it to do right by us. And people have to take that responsibility seriously. And that can happen on a block club, and it can happen here in Washington and everywhere in between. And so I think people who are afraid should say to themselves, what can I do to help improve our country? What can I do to make it better? And not expect that to always happen from here in Washington, because ordinary people can do extraordinary things too.
Okay. I'm going to work.
So what are you going to do?
I'm going to work.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to work on being as positive and as optimistic as you are. There's some things that have already happened. I'm in New York, and we're looking at like some of the numbers of like hate crime in the city just since the election, and it's like up by like 112% or something crazy. And
we are very concerned about that. In fact, a couple of days ago, I hosted a call here from the White House with Vinita Gupta, who runs the Civil Rights Division in the Justice Department, because the Justice Department does have resources that are there to combat hate crimes, and it's something we take very seriously. I spoke to a Muslim advocacy group last night, and they're fearful of their children going to school. And I think, to your point, we all have to be positive. We have to be inclusive. We have to have empathy. We have to recognize that we have to talk to people with whom we might disagree in the hopes that we will both get better in the process. And that's, again, something that you can certainly do from your show. And the more positive people we have out there encouraging what the president ran on not once but twice, which is a spirit of inclusion, appreciation for what we have in common as opposed to what we have that separates us, that's the best way to inoculate ourselves from destructive behavior from a few people in our country.
Well, thank you so much for taking time for us today. I'm going to post a bunch of links of some of the initiatives that we talked today and ways for people to support. And your office is in touch with our show. So if there's anything we can do to support you on this last stretch out and then after, we are here, and please use us.
I will, and I thank you, Angie, for everything you do. Obviously, you've got a great audience, and you get messages out every day to help inform them, and we appreciate you giving me this chance to come on and address the folks who are so loyal to you.
It is absolutely my honor. I don't know if you know, I was in Brooklyn when you came to do the talk in Brooklyn. It was like a month ago, I think, at Olivia.
You were?
Yeah, what
in criminal justice?
yeah, why am I blacking out on the actress's name? One of them was an actress.
Mike Skolnick is who invited me.
Exactly. Yeah, there was in Brooklyn, and some like really cool like Olivia Wilde was the actress. It was a brownstone in Brooklyn.
Yes, you were there.
I was there. You were amazing.
And I was just in and out. I wish I could have stayed. It was a great group.
No, you were amazing. I got a lot from it. So I just appreciate your hard work and everything you do in it. And
well,
thank
that
you.
touches my heart. Thank you. You take care, and I hope to see you before we go.
Absolutely. Can we please everybody have a one time for Valerie Jarrett, Senior Advisor to the President of the United States?
You take care, Angie.